welcome to my podcast. On this episode, I have Dave Nestor. He is the drummer from the band ENMY. Welcome, David.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Everything good today? You all right? Good day?
Yeah, you might hear some thunder in the background. It's a little bit rainy. I just got done doing some yard work right before the rain started. But yeah, if there's thunder, I apologize.
That's all right. No, nice little background noises and stuff for the podcast might be quite good.
Yeah.
I remember my days of I lived in Tampa, Florida, and I remember how funky the thunderstorms are and how frequent they are. Um,
Oh yeah.
in that particular area, and obviously you're in Cincinnati, is that right?
The band is based out of Cincinnati. I live right outside of Nashville, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah.
yes, you're
I'm
now
about 4 hours away from those guys.
okay. So I mean, how does that work out for you guys? I mean, traveling, obviously, being a professional drummer that you are you used to that travel? Are you used to that, like, kind of being that far apart?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Ohio. That's how I know those guys.
Oh, okay.
So when their first drummer left the band, they asked me if I knew any drummers in the area that would be interested. And after trying out a few guys, they thought, we should ask Dave because he joked about being part of the band, even though I had already moved to Nashville. And it worked out because I've always loved their music. I would try to go and support them whenever I wasn't on the road, to see their shows and see them when I could. So it ended up working out really well. I really enjoyed the
That's
music, so it's a good addition.
that's really cool. I mean, this sort of leads me down to this question I've got here, your origin story of the band and everything. Obviously, like you just mentioned you took over from a prior drummer, but could you give us some more background on the actual band itself, like when they formed, all that kind of stuff, just for my listeners who may not have heard of your band?
Sure. So Enemy started, I do believe it was late 2019, 2020 timeframe. So they really started to put out music and start to pop off right before COVID, unfortunately. It put a little bit of a damper on them really expanding quickly. We still have a pretty decent following. We're still growing on that. Now that we have a relationship with Fixed, we're really hoping that helps us along the way. But in any case, Brady, the singer, and Trevor, the bass player, who's actually more of a guitar player and songwriter,
Yeah.
they were in a bunch of previous bands that played a lot of the local scene in Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus area of Ohio. Um, Cinema Sleep was one of them. I know that Trevor was in a couple other bands besides the ones he was in with Brady. I was in a lot of local bands too, and we would play shows together.
Yeah.
So I was in a bunch of local bands, Me and the Making, Words as Weapons, all these old emo bands.
Yep.
Um, and we played shows together and we got to know each other really well. So when Enemy started, I was really excited because um, drummer was great. His name was Kevin, and they had really good potential. And the songwriting was there. They had similar songwriting in other bands, but Mike, the guitar player, I think he added that element that they needed to really stand out musically. So I know he had been in some cover bands and other local bands in the Northern Kentucky area. Mike, the guitar player. I don't know too much of his background besides that, but when the band formed, I know that they had put out music, and I was just like, "Holy cow, these guys are ripping!" I'm excited for their future. I hope they do really well. Um, they did some small tours here and there, but they were just trying to get their name out there and put out music and music videos. And almost every single they released, they would put out a music video with it. I thought that was a really good marketing strategy,
Yeah.
but they started to pick up a lot of views, a lot of plays. I was really excited for them. I came and saw them a couple times. They were selling out some local shows, and man, it was just so exciting to see. And then COVID happened, but instead of stopping, they kept writing. They kept putting out music. They kept putting out music videos, which were easy to do during COVID because you could still be isolated and follow all the rules and stuff,
Yeah.
while still making music. So while a lot of us, because I work in the music industry, I had to stop working. I
Mm.
was still able to check out some of their local shows once music started to start back up late 2020, early 21. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the origin is we all played in local bands, and in 2019 or so, they decided to start Enemy, and adding Michael in there with some really good writing and heavy riffs. I think they really needed that to make them stand out. So it's kind of where they began.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, I discovered you guys through Fixed. That's why we've got
Nice.
going today. I've got a long-standing kind of relationship with the label. when it comes to their music output generally, and I've had pretty much almost the entire legacy roster so far on this show,
Nice,
and
nice.
I'm getting a lot of the new guys like yourselves on there. To talk about your music, obviously get it out to the general sort of like my audience, which is sort of US and UK based. So you get a
Okay,
good mix on that front, a little bit of Europe as well. But
nice.
it's yeah, it's quite nice at the moment. It's getting some good views and stuff, which is nice. It's picking up, which is good. Obviously that helps bands like yourself and everything like that to get exposure, which is what I want to do. I get like named bands on here as well as like bands that are emerging like yourselves, um,
Okay,
and stuff like that.
cool.
So, but what's your like before we talk about the latest single from Enemy? What is your background? Because like you said, you were sort of in the music industry, or you are in the music industry. What's
Mhm.
your sort of background in that? I'm just sort of interested in your sort of journey.
So I took a break from the music industry until about 2015. I was trying to do the normal um, 9 to 5 kind of thing, worked in construction for a long time, but I always felt the draw back to music and back to the road. So at the end of 2015, I decided to just go all in
Yeah.
and stop kind of dipping my toes in, but finally like dive in head first. So I quit my regular jobs and started to go on tour as a drum tech for a band called All That Remains.
Cool. Yeah.
Good friends of mine from Northeast US area, like the Boston area. Um, they actually just put out some new music you should check out if you haven't yet. It's really good. But in any case, they were kind of the first band that I toured with as a drum tech. So I've gone back and forth between drum teching and drumming.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to stay busy because it's really hard to stay busy if you're either in a single band or you work for a single band. So I've worked for quite a few bands over the years, but my current main gig is drum teching for Disturbed. So that's what I just got back from was a run with those guys.
Nice.
Um, and we're trying to balance the other guys in Enemy's work life and family life with my touring life as a drum tech and as a drummer because I also play drums for Aaron Lewis from Stained. He has like a countryside project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm his drummer whenever he does full band stuff, which is cool.
Cool.
Um, so I try to stay as busy as I can. I also work for Stained from time to time doing drum teching and playback stuff for them too. So it's definitely once you find a good niche for yourself in the industry, you can stay very busy.
Yeah.
Um, and your network has to be at a certain size to be able to continuously work and be on the road. But I'm really excited to have a little bit of time off right now, so I can focus on Enemy, making drum videos here in my studio, but also just pumping out new music with those guys and helping demo some new ideas for the next record. And we're just continuously working and doing music videos. And
Yeah.
tomorrow we release a new song and a music video, which we're excited about. But yeah, that's a little of my background. So drum tech and drummer, touring at least 6 to 8 months out of the year normally, and now really trying to push to get my guys to get on the road too, because I
Yeah.
think that's one element we're missing is getting out there on the road to spread our music besides what we already can do online through streaming platforms.
Yeah, it's important to play out live because it's something that people are going back to, thankfully, after
Yeah,
this hesitation of COVID and whatnot after that. But
yeah,
people are excited to be out there, and bands, there are a lot of bands that kind of are stuck in the studio because they feel that that is their, that's where they're going to be. But it's also, there's bands like yourself that want to get out. You want to get out and
mhm,
talk because it's important. Obviously, from your point of view, from your background, I should say, like being a drum tech and stuff, you can see that firsthand. I've got a lot of friends who tech for bands. They're doing, one of them's just doing Lana Del Rey and everything like that at the moment, playing with her.
very cool.
And I've got just a bunch because I was in the music industry back in the day, and all those sort of people that were in bands at the time are now mainly teching, and tour managing and stuff like that, and doing like, so they're getting their sort of like on the road fix, but also doing what they love, but obviously without that like main performance bit, unless you get the unfortunate where a member of the band gets ill or something, you can kind of step in and play. Um,
Yeah, right
um,
place, right time.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And obviously, you know the sort of ins and outs of that side of it. So that's pretty cool. That's really cool. I didn't know you were a drum tech for those sort of bands and stuff. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's really cool. So let's talk enemy. Let's bring it back to the enemy. So you got a new single called The Ledge, which is out on it's out now, isn't it? I think.
Yep.
Yeah. And out via Fixed again. You got that
Yep.
relationship with them. And that's the song, the most recent song I've been sent of yours. So it's the one I've said, and I really like it. It's the one that kind of drew me into this and say, yeah, I want to get you guys on the show. I went back and
Good.
listened
Happy to hear
to
that.
previous tracks as well. Obviously, I've got all the streaming services at my beck and call. Um, I really love the Demonized remix that Toronto has broken done. Another fixed roster member,
Yep.
and also he's been on this show a couple of times. He's UK based as well, so
Very cool.
it's really cool. I do like my drum and bass and metal, so it kind of really works on that front.
Yeah,
Um,
they did a good job on that one for sure.
yeah,
We were really excited when we got it back because we didn't know what to expect because we hadn't had anyone really redo any of our songs in that way. So I definitely hope we get to do more of that in the future because it's got a really good response.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got like with fixed, you've got that right there built in almost. You've got all these
Yep.
artists that specialize in this sort of thing. So obviously you've got Clayton, Cell Dweller at the
Yep.
top of the tree, if you will. But you've got all the other artists that are in there as well. That a lot of them obviously do offer that kind of like or can do remixes and stuff like that. But you got
Yep.
other singles. You got Fake, Waiting on You, Silver Bullet, Survive. There was an album that was reissued as well called Breaking Down. I released
Mhm.
a deluxe version a couple of months ago with some extra tracks and things like that on there. Were you
Yep.
part of that album or was that before you?
So the album was before me.
Yeah.
When we decided to do the re-release or the deluxe edition and do the two remix songs, I definitely a lot of input because they brought me in as a full member, and it was cool to kind of have some feedback back and forth with that. And then all of the new songs, they had started to write and produce a lot of those before I joined, but luckily we were able to go back and kind of change some of the drum parts if I thought they didn't flow well, or maybe throw in my 2 cents on what might work better as a drummer. Um, because a lot of the times when guitar players are writing some of the guitar parts, they write parts that they think sound good with the riff,
Mm,
but they don't always make sense on the drums.
yeah.
So it's a good thing, in my opinion, to have like that camaraderie in a band where you can come together and form something that is special, not just one person and everybody else is just puppets live, you know. So it's been cool. It's been good. They've definitely welcomed me in that aspect, and they let me have a pretty good say when it comes to writing a lot of the drum parts. And so we did change some of the songs that they had already written for the newest album
Yeah.
that we're releasing singles on right now. That you had just mentioned a few of them.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, before it was just their other drummer, and after that album was done, he helped with a couple of songs. But then I've been changing a lot of that since I've been part of the band.
Awesome. It's always good to put your stamp on stuff. So
Yeah,
what's the new track coming out soon?
it's called Broken Man,
Yep.
and we have a music video for it as well, and it's being released tomorrow, May 23rd.
Cool. Cool. And
So,
obviously that's again via Fixed on that front, so it'll be available on all digital platforms and whatnot. So obviously
oh yeah,
going from those, you've obviously got a couple of singles coming out. Obviously, the plan is an album, I would thought, or are you going to go
yes.
EP or
Uh, we're releasing all of that info later on, but
okay,
after all these singles will be released, it'll equal out to be a full album.
okay,
Um, and so we're going to be releasing Broken Man. Then we have some more singles over the next few months are going to be releasing. So before the end of the year, we have quite a bit of music and music videos we're going to be releasing as all part of that one collective album.
yeah.
So
No, it's fantastic. I mean, that's sort of like what I'm used to with Fixed as well. They kind of have that release schedule when you are releasing singles with content and
yeah.
stuff like that to sort of keep up obviously with the way the music industry works now with content online
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
read whatever you want to call them, the whole social media thing, which is
Yeah, I
very
mean it's just content. Yeah.
it's just
Just try to
content.
keep up, yeah, keep up with content, keep people entertained. People's attention spans as I get older get shorter. So we have to do more and more to make sure that we're staying on top of our game and that people don't lose interest. That's
Yeah,
just the way it is.
no, it's important. You need to like you need to be visible at all times, otherwise people do forget
Hmm.
about it. As sad as that is, the short attention
Yeah, it
spans
is
and
what it
stuff,
is. I mean,
but it is what it,
we're
exactly
trying
it
to,
is what it is.
yeah, we're trying to adapt because I mean, we want to keep playing music because we love
Yeah.
it. We love playing shows. We love releasing music. So we'll do what we need to do to make sure it keeps happening.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing some of it online. But
Yeah,
obviously music is what I listen to, and obviously Fix do send me tracks and stuff when they're released. So I will be digging into your track tomorrow when they send it to me.
nice.
But how did the band's relationship with Fixed come about? Because you're not the typical band that or group that they would have on there. I mean, they've had sort of
Right.
certain bands on there before, but they've always had like that strong electronic element in there.
Hmm.
Whereas you guys, you do have that, but it's very subtle, and you're more of a sort of like rock metal band or hard rock band in that respect. So,
Yeah.
how did that like relationship become about?
Well, Michael, our guitar player, he had already started to form a relationship with James a long time ago before I was even in the band. He had been talking to him for quite a while, and I know that Mike is a huge fan of electronic music, and I mean Linkin Park is one of his favorite bands.
Yeah,
To give you an idea, so he likes that rock element that has the heaviness, but also like the melodic side and like the ballad side of things, to where you can still have very pretty orchestral parts of music, but still go straight to a heavy part, but somehow it still works. And then also there's, the DJ in the background where he's doing all the electronic stuff and all the sequencing and keyboards. So, I mean, that's kind of the idea I think that he had when he started talking to James was, you know, he hoped that we could be sort of following in the footsteps of, some of the greats such as Linkin Park, that have that element of electronic parts to their music, but are still more of a rock or a heavy
yeah,
hard rock band or whatever you would want to classify us, because we're kind of in a weird spot with it. And Broken Man Tomorrow, you'll see it is more of a ballad,
yeah.
which we haven't really released anything like that before, which I'm really excited about because I think it's one of our better songs. We played it live a couple times, last few shows, and the response has been really, really good. So I'm hoping overall the response will be great too. But I think there was at least, it might have been a full year that he was talking to James before we signed a deal.
Okay.
I'll have to get with him on the exact time frame, but yeah. So I know he's been a fan, and the Browning, a couple of the guys in the band like that band, and they're also on Fixed. And we really liked the idea of going with something that isn't traditional, but um, with people that really kind of practice what they preach. They
Yes.
they they actually do what they say they're going to do. They don't fluff anything. They're straight to the point, and I'd like that better than padding something. Just
Yeah.
tell me how it is.
Yeah.
Um, but also they are straightforward with what they can offer us and how they're helping us, and they are trying to help with everything a lot more than I thought that a label would, which is really cool. And they don't have to,
Yeah.
because it's not required as part of their contract to do everything that James has been doing. But it's a really cool relationship. We're starting to build something really, really cool, and I think it's going to go far. You know what? I don't think, I know it is. I'm going to manifest that,
Yep.
to make sure it happens. But yeah, I think the relationship with those guys and ladies that work there too, I think that's going to really launch us to the next level,
Yeah.
when it comes to our career or whatever. So yeah, Mike had a relationship with him, and they talked and talked and talked, and we actually had, I can't even tell you how many chats as a band with James before we actually decided to go down the path of signing with them. But
Yeah.
we were all convinced by the time it was done that this was the right move.
That's
So
good. That's good.
yeah,
I've always liked chatting with James and stuff in the past, and watching Fix sort of grow into what it's becoming now, and knowing what they do. Like they know how to launch bands, if you will, or give people the chance. They've got a good they're very social media savvy, or very, they're a different type of label on that front.
hmm
What I'm trying to say.
hmm
Obviously, they release the sort of like traditional format music and stuff like that. I've got some of it here somewhere. There's some vinyl in my boxes here of other artists that they've had on there.
nice.
And but they've adapted. They've gone forward. Like a lot of the music industry sort of stood still and stayed staying still when the digital sort of element came in,
Hmm.
um, digital distribution and stuff like that. But they've sort of grasped it, and they're always trying new stuff, as well as stuff they know that works. They're always like willing to sort of try different things and stuff, which is really cool. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, we're hoping it helps us with a lot of things. I mean, Could you imagine when we were younger playing a video game and hearing a song and be like, man, I wish I could be the band that's because that's actually how I found Avenged Sevenfold, surprisingly. Back
Oh,
when I was a kid,
yeah.
they were on the Madden soundtrack. I forget which Madden game, but they were on the Madden soundtrack. And though I was like, who is this band? I got to look them up. And I did. And I've been a fan ever since. So
Crazy.
it's ironic that those kind of things happen. But yeah, we're trying to get ourselves, down that realm, hopefully, maybe in video games, movies, all that stuff. But we're
Yep.
hoping fixed is the key to get there.
Yep. Yep. They've had plenty on games and stuff from the past, or even game
Oh,
training.
yeah.
So, that was one of my dreams, is to hear my own music on one of those games. Um,
I mean, it'd be really cool. It'd be
yeah.
really cool.
No, I can. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, but yeah, I mean, with all that coming out, obviously we talked. You got a potential album planned and stuff. Have you got any sort of live shows coming up or anything like that at the
Mhm.
moment? Is there anything in the pipeline? Even I don't know if you're touring or not, or if it's just literally sort of just getting out, playing the music and seeing
Well,
what
we're working on getting a booking agent because we've tried to do a lot of it ourselves, and we are pretty limited. We found like we've plateaued with our ability as individuals because at a certain point, management companies and bands want you to actually have a booking agency or a manager to help you do all of those things. They don't want to talk to the guitar player to book a show.
happens.
They would rather talk to a manager or a booking agent, and I understand that. But they also want to see that we can pull numbers before we can sign with the booking agency.
Yeah.
So we're at that weird in between because we need to play more shows to prove that. So we have a couple shows coming in July. We're hoping to maybe get something in June, but we're still looking. It's already getting close to that time, so we might still have to wait till July. Right now, July 5th at Love Drafts in Mechanicsburg, PA. We're headlining a show there.
Cool.
Love Drafts Brewery. It's a pretty cool spot. I've seen a lot of tours come through there.
Nice.
And that's the first show we have in July. And then July 27th, we're throwing a festival in their hometown of Covington, Kentucky
Yep.
at Madison Theater. So it'll be us. Let me bring up the flyer because we actually have quite a few fixed artists that are going to be on
Oh.
that show too. And I want to make sure I get the names right. But we're basically putting on the show ourselves because we have a good relationship with the owner of the venue. We've played there quite a bit. My first
Yeah.
show with ENMY was there last November. Did really well. They've opened up for Seven Dust and a bunch of other bands there.
Nice.
That's like their hometown venue. So it's called Mayhem on Madison, July 27th. So it's going to be Enemy, Sequoia, Soft Spoken, Diedrich, which I
Yep.
think is another fixed,
Yep.
uh, JD, Cold State, The Last Troubadour, and Here Come Here. And I think we were working on possibly getting a couple more fixed artists, but I don't know if schedules are going to work out.
Nice.
Um, but we're looking forward to that because it'll be like a cool after party for anybody that wants to pay for the VIP package, and it'll be like on the rooftop of the venue. We'll have a DJ up there,
Nice.
and it's a venue that's broken up into two halves. So you have the main theater, which is like I think 1,100 cap if they open up the balcony,
Yep.
and then they have Madison Live, which is a really small, narrow room. I think you can fit 400 or 500 in there. So we're going to be bouncing back and forth from one stage to the other, festival style,
Nice.
um, to get everybody a good amount of time for changeovers, and people can get a change of scenery for a minute, and we'll have a food truck there as well, selling all kinds of food and snacks, and it's going to be really cool. So those are the two shows in July we have, and then we're looking at playing with a band called Of Virtue.
Yep.
We're going to be direct support for them for a couple shows in September, I believe, in Ohio. So
Cool.
Lakeview and Columbus,
Yep.
or not Lakeview, Lakeland, like
Like,
up near Cleveland.
cool. So you get
So yeah,
keep
I'm
it busy on that front, which is awesome.
trying to. Yep.
I want to come to that festival, but I don't think I can get over there. I
You don't
could,
think so?
well, no, maybe maybe we'll see.
Yeah, let
We'll
let
see.
us know, man. We'll hook you up.
Yeah, no, I'll
But
see if I can make it. But
it
it's
should be really good.
yeah, it's a journey. But I'm looking to go back to the States soon. So yeah,
I get it.
we'll see. We'll
I
see.
get it. I get it. It's not cheap either, so I totally understand.
No, it's not.
Flying
But
is
it's something I've ever since I haven't gone back to the US since moving back, so it's something that's
hmm,
well overdue. So we're just kind of like
nice,
looking this summer to do like a family holiday at least. But um,
nice.
we're going to hit various parts of the states, obviously the places where we used to live, to say hello to all the people we used to know, or still know, I should say, used to know. But yeah, just sort of do a little bit of a holiday trek, if you will. But that sounds like a really good event. And the food
I
truck,
mean, we are
really
planning, I
so.
was going to say, we are planning on, I don't think we locked in the exact day. Let me look at the calendar real quick.
Yeah.
We didn't, but I know there's a place called the Bright Side in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
And they want us to do like right around Thanksgiving time. They want us to do a show, like probably the day before Thanksgiving or maybe that weekend because a lot of people are off for the holiday.
Yeah.
Um, so I know that's going to be another show, and that's in November. But hopefully, we'll be getting some things in September, October. I'm really not sure because a lot of the time, my industry or my teching side of the industry, a lot of the time when a tour is booked, they don't actually book the techs right away. So I might have work
Yeah.
coming up that gets in the way of some of this stuff. I really don't know. And that's kind of unfortunate, but I also have to take the work when it comes. Because when
Yes.
I'm home, I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
So for people out there that don't understand how it works, um, as a drum tech, I'm not a salary employee. I am not on retainer. I only get paid when I'm out working. So I usually, when I fly days and days off when I'm on the road, that's paid, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I got to keep working, and the band understands that too. And they also have families and jobs they have to work around. That's why we aren't in a place to necessarily go out on tour full time
Yeah.
just yet. But we're
I
working on it.
mean, that's the reality of a lot of bands. Even ones you
Yeah.
might think that are self-sufficient, they're not. They have to maintain day jobs and things like that in the meantime. And
Mhm.
bands that when I was younger, I thought like, oh, these bands are great, like they're massive. I'm watching them on big stages in London or whatever. And it turns out they're like insurance salesmen, or they work in a I think one of them was an ice cream salesman, had an
Oh
ice cream
wow,
and everything. And just stuff
that'd be
like that.
cool.
And it's just crazy. It's like it was a weird reality check that not everything in the industry is, glitz and glamour and Elvis and Michael
Right.
Jackson, all that kind of stuff. There is a working, you know, underbelly of it that you have to maintain it with a secure income. And obviously
Hmm.
you've got both those things going on because you need to be on the road to be paid. It's not like you stop and then you go off and do something else. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it's a stark ground that a lot of people I don't think realize. Even bands, like I say, bands you think would be huge or they've got a big name,
Yeah.
but they've
Yeah.
got day jobs, and it's a
Yeah.
little, it must be weird for them. Um,
Yeah. It sometimes happens, but I mean, I do get paid a little bit to do lessons. I do offer lessons and do record a little bit here, but it's few and far between because of people programming drums, which is another conversation for another day.
yeah,
But I have a really good recording setup here, and I've been tracking drums for different artists. It's been cool, but
nice.
it's also like anything else in the industry. It takes a while to build that name up, so
Yeah,
it's not something I can live on. Not even close, not yet.
yeah,
But
yeah.
once
That's
I get to that point, hopefully,
yeah.
once Enemy is full time, when I'm home, all I'm going to be doing is tracking drums and doing drum lessons and not worrying about anything else. That's the goal.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I've got a couple of questions left for you, if that's all right. Then I'll
Cool.
let you get on with
Yeah.
the rest of your day. So what I want to find out from you, these are more about yourself. So I want to find out is your three most pivotal albums in your life. So not necessarily your favorite album or albums, the ones that kind of hit you at that moment. You go like, I want to be a drummer, or I want to be in the music industry, or you just heard it when you were young and it was just like it blew you away.
Oh wow. Okay. Should I start with three and then go to one?
It's up to you. Whatever, it doesn't matter what order. It's whatever you want to, whatever comes to
Okay.
mind.
I was gonna say it might be hard to do which one is actually the highest, so I might do three that are pretty even,
Yeah, yeah, that's
if
fine.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I would say one of the first would be "The Artist in the Ambulance" by a band called Thrice.
Oh, yeah,
Um, that was pivotal for me when I was growing up because grew up in a very conservative Christian home.
yeah,
They wouldn't really be cool with me listening to too much heavy music if it wasn't Christian. So I had to find artists that possibly were Christian artists or that had like meaningful lyrics and prove it to my parents that it wasn't going to have cuss words or anything violent.
yeah,
So Thrice was one of those really wholesome lyrics. I even think Dustin was a believer, or is a believer. He's a singer who writes all the lyrics and stuff. But that album was insane to me. It was like punk rock, but had some really good melodic metal parts.
yeah.
And that really was one of my favorite albums growing up. To this day, I think it still holds up. When they did that re-release of The Artist in the Ambulance this last year,
Mm,
my girlfriend and I paid for VIP because I was like, I have to go. I have to get the poster and see these guys is one of my favorite albums. Unfortunately, Dustin got sick, and so they had to cancel the Nashville show. But it is what it is. But I would say that is definitely up there for me. Artist in the Ambulance by Thrice would be one of the top. Second one, man, there are so many, but I guess I need to narrow it down. I would say one of the bigger influences on my drumming would be Under Oath.
Okay.
And their first few albums were good, but I think the one that stuck out to me was Define the Great Line. I don't know if you've heard that album or know which one I'm talking about.
I've heard
Let me look.
albums, names escape me, so it's kind of
Okay, no, it's totally fine. So there are a few songs off Define the Great Line. Let me look it up real quick to make sure that I say it right. All right, so In Regards to Self is one of the best ones they had
yeah,
on there. Um, Writing on the Walls, everything on that album. I thought as a whole it was well produced and well written, and the drums on there just pop. So Aaron Gillespie, one of my bigger influences when I was growing up, because they were also considered to be a Christian band, so I was allowed to listen to them. Um, he was such an amazing drummer, and he was one of the guys that really stood out to me, that he was trying things that nobody else really was.
yeah,
So there are the stereotypical beats that you get for screamo or emo bands,
yeah.
and he was doing things that I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, but it fits perfectly. So then I would go to the kit and try it out, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. Like, it actually feels good and it flows better than I thought it would, because
Yeah,
you don't know how those things would flow until you actually give it a shot yourself.
yeah.
So yeah, Under Oath, definitely huge influence, and To Find the Great Line, in my opinion, is their best album. And then, man, for number three, I'll just do. Uh, I mean, Architects is definitely one of my favorite bands over the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I could put them in the hat too. But which album? That's so hard. Give me 1 second, I will find it. All right. So a lot of my friends love Architects, but they don't like their newer music compared to the older stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so man, I would say Holy Hell from Architects,
Okay.
or oh man, it's so hard, or Lost Forever, Lost Together. Those two albums were huge when it came to my drumming and like the style of his playing. Dan is an amazing drummer, and rest in peace, Tom, his brother, who wrote a lot of the music up
Yeah.
until Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. I think that was his last one.
Yeah.
Have you seen that documentary, by the way?
I haven't. I
The
haven't. It's on my my watch list.
Cool. I was
It's
gonna say it's only like 22 minutes long. It's called
yeah,
Holy Ghost. It's on YouTube. Everyone check it out. It's great. Gives the story of how they wrote the album after Tom, their main songwriter, guitar player, who was twins with the drummer.
yeah,
How after he passed away, Dan, the drummer, had to try to take the song bits that Tom had written and kind of piece them together to make an album. And then
yeah,
they brought in a new guitar player, and Josh Milton. He did a really good job taking his place. But obviously, band's not going to be the same if their primary songwriter passed away. But it is what it is, and they've done a great job since he's been gone. But those earlier albums that he wrote, man, some of those are
yeah.
untouchable.
No, definitely.
So
Some
yeah,
like being. I mean, those are three fantastic albums, first and foremost. But Architects, I mean, they're huge here. They're a British band, which is, it's nice to have a big British band that kind of don't write sort of middle of the road stuff.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I haven't watched that documentary. It's a weird thing. It's like, because I remember the band before, seen the band afterwards. I've sort of seen the sort of what people are saying in between. I know Josh because he's lives local to me. He's no longer obviously no longer in the band. He's gone back to, well, he's always had his old band, but he's concentrating on that now.
Silosis is great though.
Yo, totally, totally. When I was in a band back in the day, we played a couple of shows with Silosis way back then. That was like 20 plus years ago. Um,
That's cool.
which is crazy to think about every time I do think about this. And but it's one of those things. But yeah, Architects, fantastic band. Under Oath, again, great hardcore band. And that album, again, fantastic. Thrice as well. I love Thrice. Thrice are one of my favorite bands. I was years ago, I had Riley on the show,
Oh,
back in the
cool.
early days of the podcast, and he literally stayed online with me for well over an hour. We ended up obviously talking about music. I think they just released Black Honey. Uh,
Nice.
and we ended up just talking baseball and all that kind of stuff at that point,
That's so funny.
which was great. And from then on, I just absolutely love the band more even then, because it was just one of those like chats that I had that like with a band that I used to sort of like I've seen on a huge stage, and it was just like it's this
Yeah,
guy,
that's pretty cool.
totally cool, down to earth.
Honestly,
You know.
I haven't disliked any of their albums. A lot of people dropped off when they started to do more like electronic stuff with the Alchemy Index or like some of the softer stuff, but I've always loved their music. I think everything they put out is great,
Yeah, yeah, I really love that
even
Black.
if it changes.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with an artist, like they're gonna change. You do get some
Hmm.
artists that kind of they have a formula, their fans know the formula, they're guaranteed to sell X amount of records. There's a pattern there. You can hear some bands and every album would technically sound the same, but not in that respect. But they don't change. They know their road that they want to go down. And then you
Right.
get bands that just want it because you're an artist, you want to play, you want to do different stuff, you want to release stuff, you want to evolve, and you listen to bands like I don't know, like Deftones, for instance.
Great
That
band.
great band, and the way they've evolved over the years from being kind of like a at the time new metal, kind of straight up street new metal kind of stuff, and then they've kind of turned into this kind of it's not even new metal anymore. It's kind of this epicness about them, bigger soundscapes, and just making this like music. And you got bands like Incubus that completely were kind of a funk metal, new metal thing, and then went. I don't like saying it, but radio friendly. um,
You're allowed to say that. You're allowed to
okay,
say
I'll
that.
say that. But they went radio friendly, and that was their journey. And it was just kind of like a lot of people at the time were like, "Oh, they sold out or whatever." But you can see what these bands want to do, and they've kind of kept with that, and that's obviously what they wanted to do. Bands
Right.
are young forever, and like it's like listening. Like most recent thing is like the new Pearl Jam album. I love Pearl Jam, but they're not the band they were 30 years ago. They're older. It's like I'm older.
Not even close.
My back hurts, you know,
Yeah.
and I guarantee they can hurt as well. So
Yeah.
watching some of their antics back in the day, it's like, yeah, they're going to be hurting now. But they're making music that they want to make at that point. They don't have to. They can probably live off what
Yep.
they've got, but they've done that, and their new album is a good new album. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not the band that they used to be. So a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't sound very good. It's not as good as 10 or not as good as whatever. You're just like, you
Can't
know,
compare. I
yeah,
mean, you can do whatever you want. We're all
yeah.
free people, but in my opinion, it's okay to adapt and change with the times, you know?
Oh, definitely, definitely, definitely. Well, I've got one last question for you. I'll let you go. Um,
Okay.
Probably a silly question because you're sort of very music orientated completely. But what are your hobbies away from music, if you have any? So what do you do to get away from the drums, the away from, the touring life? What do you do? Or even when you're out on tour, is there anything you kind of do to distract yourself?
Yeah. So when I'm home, luckily, my girlfriend and I, we have a place kind of out in the country away from Nashville. We're like 30 to 45 minutes, depending on traffic, away from downtown, out in the country.
Nice.
We have a little bit of property. And over the last year and a half, we've kind of developed the property into a mini farm. So we have 5 chickens now, um, possibly looking into getting goats in the future and maybe expanding our chicken coop to add more chickens. But we have 5 hens and they're producing so many eggs. We actually give our neighbors and friends eggs all the time just because we have too many.
It's amazing.
Because it's just her and I, and
Yeah.
um, we if we're getting like 6 to 12 a day sometimes, then we can't eat all those by ourselves. So if anything, we're eating maybe 2 or 3 a day. So if you can do the math, we have way too
Yeah.
many eggs. So
Yeah.
it's been cool because in between a Europe tour and a Canada tour last year with Disturbed, I had 7 days off and I actually built the new chicken coop with the run, and but they have what my girlfriend calls the chicken Hilton,
Yeah.
um, because it's really nice. I mean, we were
Yeah.
able to put a metal roof on it. It has like all kinds of protection, cameras, a lot of solar power stuff to make sure the doors open and close at sunset and at sunrise. They open. A lot of fans, a lot of stuff down there that I never thought um, chickens would need, but I realize they do.
Yeah.
So they have a really good, comfortable spot. So that's been a lot of my hobby. Is when I get home, I have a task list because we have a mini farm, so I always have something to do. Like today, right before I jumped on with you, I have like a mini version of a Ford Transit. So it's like those taller vans that you can stand up in.
Yeah.
But I have like the minivan version. It's called the Transit Connect.
Okay.
All the seats are down in the back, and it's full of a bunch of stuff I'm taking to the dump, like a lot of wood, a lot of scrap wood, a lot of scrap from my last build. So I do a lot of building stuff when I'm home, which is a hobby, but also like needed for what we're doing here.
Mm.
So I guess you could say that definitely keeps me busy. Um, but on tour, besides trying to stay fit and work out as much as I can, which doesn't always happen when you're tired on days off, um, I try to check out breweries in almost every city I go to because I'm a huge beer fan.
Yeah.
So breweries in every city or every country. When I'm overseas, try to do the same thing. We actually were fortunate. We went to Australia in March with Disturbed,
Mm.
and we did a full winery day. So me and Mike and Dan, the drummer, guitar player, and a few other crew members, we had a minivan and like a host, and
Yeah.
the host was our driver, and he drove us to way out to the outback to 3 different wineries, and we had like the full winery tour. They set up lunch for us. We got to try a bunch of different wines and cheeses, and it was really cool.
Nice.
Um, but you should do that if you're ever on tour. So like a lot of my friends that tour full time and have done it longer than I have,
Yeah.
they're like, "Nah, I'm gonna chill in my hotel." I'm like, "Dude, we're in Melbourne for 2 days. We
Yeah.
don't have to do anything today. What are you talking about? Go to the beach, go get food, like go to the zoo, go down to the pier, do something." Like I don't know. I'm definitely not lazy when it comes to days off because you never know if you're going to be able to keep doing this or if we can travel overseas again anytime
Yeah.
soon. Because I know when 2020 happened with COVID, I had a full year planned with Marilyn Manson, who I was working for at the time, and we were supposed to do support for Ozzy, and we were going to do full world tour, and it all got canceled. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, this might be my only chance to go overseas because we didn't know if it was going to come back.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah,
cool.
man, always try to take advantage. Breweries are definitely one of my go-tos.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. There was one thing I did when I went out on tour is like, you'll get a day off. I just went out for a walk and just explore where we
Oh
were
yeah.
because it was just like you say. There's a lot of places that you just flew through. You play a show, set up for the show, be sure, and then you just want to rest between that and then go. And when you get that day
Mhm.
off, you kind of like could rest, but I'm only in this town or this city for another day. So
Mhm.
just go out for a walk and catch a bit of it, maybe, and just sort of say, yes, I've been to Vienna, I've been to Paris, whatever, wherever you are.
Mhm.
And I spent
Mhm.
a day there. I went there, I bought some coffee, I bought a coffee in a cafe or whatever, just something. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
not,
coffee's a big thing too on
oh yeah,
tour.
coffee, definitely.
100%. Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, you
But
definitely need to do that.
yes, no, excellent, excellent. But David, thank you very much for this chat. I really appreciate it. Good luck with Enemy, and all the
Thank you.
future releases that are coming up. Also, good luck with your sort of other ventures and stuff if you're out on tour and everything. If you ever like come to the UK and you're part of it, I'll see if you're around. Because
Yeah, definitely.
I'm normally at most rock shows, metal shows in London or down sort of south of England on the coast. So
Okay.
if you're obviously I'll keep an eye out, but yeah, if you're doing that sort of stuff still, then yeah, I will see if I can say hi at least.
Yeah, man. I'll hit you up. It'd be fun to maybe grab a coffee or a beer or something.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Well, you have a good rest of your day. I hope the weather clears up for you so you can get on with any other chores you've got going on.
Yes, I have
Um,
quite a few, so I hope it clears up too. We have family visiting we have a holiday this weekend.
okay.
In the US, it's called Memorial Day, so
Oh yeah,
people are
yes,
usually off on Monday. So
yeah,
we have her family coming to visit, so we're doing the full house cleaning and yard cleaning and everything.
yeah, yeah. We've got our well, we don't have spring break here, but it is the spring break here because my kids are off school for the week.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's not quite the spring break as the US, but
Not everybody does what they do in the movies, I promise. Most of the time we stay home.
it's very true. I lived on the coast and it was very boring. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, you take it easy, and yeah, I hope I'll
awesome.
be welcome back on the show anytime once you guys got like the album coming out or something like that, and we'll have you back on. And obviously, if you
Okay.
get to the point of when you're playing over here, or if I'm over there and you're playing, obviously I'll come see you. But same thing, come over here.
Cheers, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. Would love to have you come out.
Awesome. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and yeah, thank you.
All right, man. Cool. Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Have a good one.